Good evening, everybody. Sorry, we've got a little technical here. Give me just a second. Sorry, folks. We should be live and ready to go. We just got caught off guard just a hair here. Sorry about that. I just realized the time and we are on live. So it's kind of chilly down here, so you have to excuse me. I had to get my jacket. And I think we are about ready. Hopefully everybody can hear me fine. Hang on one more second here. Let me just get everything ready. Okay, sorry about that. I got a whole page of notes for today. Lots of topics. We had the storm through here, so my whole schedule is totally messed up this whole week. Not what I really wanted. We were actually able to list some still. I did take some to the library and just listed there because I had power. And then actually we took the laptops home. We actually charged quite a few at the library. We only can run one off of an inverter here at the house. So, I had a couple people family-wise listing. We couldn't go anywhere. So I had my oldest, the wife, and then I. So we had basically 3 laptops for a couple hours on 2 different days when we didn't have power. So, I talked about contingency plans. There's always a way to do things. We had thought about a generator in the whole works, but for the few times that it would affect us, it's really not worth me spending a ton of extra money on something like that. So just FYI. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. Just a couple touches on here. I am going to appear on a few other channels. We're just working out some details here. There will probably be one this month and one next month. I think everybody knows me and watched enough of my videos to know that I'm very selective on what I do. You have not seen anybody on my show at all. The folks that I'll be going on their show, I'm not promising any return visits, onto my show. Again, I'm trying to keep the content strictly to what I talk about. I don't mind promoting the channel on another site. Again, I've been very selective here. I've had a bad experience with one YouTuber in the past, and I'm not really interested in getting into any arguments or any BS with somebody who's just not sincere about what they say and preach. So anyway, that will happen here. It's going to be 2 channels for sure. I may, though, have a person on my show, and it's going to be someone who runs a toy company. It's the only one I'm contemplating now, as well as I've talked to a flea market owner and a antique mall owner too about actually coming on and talking and answering some questions, because I've got tons of questions from people on specifics related to that sort of thing. So anyway, I've got a new type of video coming out soon too. Other news, I am on now Instagram right now. We've only got, I think maybe 7 or so posts, including just a couple little videos. I am going to be posting 1-minute little lessons on Instagram starting probably not this weekend again, because I'm 2 days down with videos. I was supposed to have a video up this week for Christmas ornaments. It's already been shot. There's no way I've had a chance to edit it or anything else. I'm going to show you how to make something that routinely sells on eBay for $100. Obviously everybody won't be able to do it because the market would be flooded, but there are opportunities to do other items which will sell just as good. This will give you the start. I spent a little bit of time on this video, so I want to edit it right. I wasn't just going to rush it to get it up here because, again, I am 2 days behind in what I normally do. We do videos ahead of time. I'll shoot a couple in one day just so if something happens like this, I was still able to. We unfortunately were caught off guard at the beginning of this week, and I didn't have any way to actually upload videos. So in the future, you will see videos. I've got a couple right now that are, sitting online just waiting to go live in case something happens. I always have an extra video ready for Thursday, other than one time when we got caught off guard with our son's issues and stuff. So, I always try to have something up. We've had some, major influx in viewership here lately. My sub count's gone up quite a bit here lately, a lot lately actually. So I was quite surprised. We had some video or 2 that were shared on main sections of YouTube. So we had a little bit of boost there for a little time. So that was good. I've got a couple items that I picked from a haul that I literally just got, and got them by accident. I was actually going to look at something else. In fact, why don't I just show you here right now? I've talked about these. I actually have a video on plate toppers. These showed up from something else I was looking at. I wasn't looking at these. It was supposed to have been a book. The guy was going to throw these in and thought the book was all the money. The book was like a $2 book. These are plate toppers, as I said. This one right here is this one's worth like 60 or 70 bucks. No exaggeration. You can go right this very second onto eBay and look this puppy up. Well, thank you very kindly, Flipping South. That's very honestly gracious of you to do that. Your advice and information on paper and collectibles has completely turned my business around. I appreciate you and your content so much. Thank you. Well, I honestly really appreciate it. I only show what I honestly do, so whatever business or things I show you on here is something I actually done, or know some inside information on it. So I don't preach what other people preach on other channels. I'm not going to tell you to do something that I personally don't do. I know the ins and outs of what I talk about, and this is a perfect example. And again, thank you very kindly, Flipping South. The wife's going to be on here now in just a few minutes, so if you hang on to, she will be here too. Again, thank you very kindly. Again, look this one up. Meet me in St. Louis Zoo. Look this one up right this minute if you got a free second and see what these go for. I have $3 into this. You can do the math if you look at what these go for. On a good day, I could get, say, $125 for this piece right here, you know. No one would have thought about it. It's a little tiny piece of aluminum. It sits on the top of a license plate. Crazy money for stuff like this. $3 to that. And on top of that, I got this one here, which is even harder to get than this one. I get, and I say this, and I'm not exaggerating, I get stuff like this, you know, a dozen times a month sometimes. At least once a week I'll get something similar to this, or some kind of vanity plate or something that's vintage. I got some Hot Rod Club aluminum plates from the front of hot rod cars from car clubs the other day. Some of those go for $500-600. Some of these go for $500 or $600. I mean, with the Native American on it and the whole works, this thing's probably, as I said, worth more than the other one, even with the damage. So again, look out for stuff like this. It's even got a maker's mark. It says Gold Fair Novelty Company, Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm telling you, these do show up, and no one knows what they are. I just don't get it because, well, I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm trying to be better than anybody else, but I've seen these for a decade. You know, my parents had them. You know, my dad had the car and hot rod stuff. This was a huge thing. I see them in postcards all the time. So I've always looked for stuff like this. So people collect postcards just because they have stuff like this in it, believe it or not. They'll buy a postcard just because it has a license plate shown that they can date the license plate, or it has like Carlsbad Caverns, a secondary plate from like 1910, 1920. All of this stuff is killer. This is travel material too. You can literally list it in collectibles. There's a travel section down there by state. You can list it there. You can list it in the car section. As I said, multi-category interests are key. You've got a city, you've got a plate topper, you've got travel. There's at least 3 categories that this item will sell into. I mean, that's just where I make killer money. I mean, $3 a piece for these things. I'm going to walk with $250 probably on these, without a doubt. I mean, no exaggeration. So anyway, I just thought I'd show that off. Again, this is something that I see quite often. I mean, I could probably come on here constantly and just put a video of this kind of stuff together here occasionally. You know, there's just so much stuff that's out there. So anyway, let's see here. I got some postcards I'll probably show off in a little while. I picked up a big haul. I'm going to talk about Payless Shoe Store for just a minute here. I've had several people ask me, you know, what am I going to do about that? I openly share some things, obviously, here on YouTube. There's other things such as Retail Arbitrage, RA, which I do not share. I've shown maybe a video here and a video there, but for the most part, if you share a lot of that when it's hot, you know, you're not going to be able to sell it. Somebody else is going to beat you to FBA or be able to drop it off quicker than you. They'll try to undercut you or anything else they can do on FBA. And that's what happens all the time. Just like I talked about, don't race to the bottom. I'm never going to do that. So I don't give anybody the opportunity. There's certain items in RA that I actually am still the only one that does, that, that sells these. It's 3 specific items I've had, and I've had them for now 2 years. So I'm no way going to jeopardize something that makes us a good chunk of money. I show a lot of collectibles and antiques, but a large chunk of our business has to do with wholesale. So, I can't talk about certain things in certain aspects. I'm going to share more in Patreon, a little bit here and a little bit there. I found some areas that we can talk about and things with it. Payless Shoe Store. Now, I know everybody says they're done. Payless Shoe Store is not technically done, and I'm going to explain that. Just give me just 1 second here. For Payless, they are doing a restructuring. It's basically, they are filing from bankruptcy, but it allows them to close a bunch of stores, invest some of the money back in, wipe out some of the debt. They can keep running. So, you're going to have a good opportunity. They're going to close 400 and some odd stores. I don't think that's even half of their stores, if I'm right. I looked around here. The closest one that I could RA at is like 2 hours away, and I don't know if I'd be willing to do that. Payless, for the most part, some of their shoes are not as good as I can get stuff for in other places. So if you've got a Payless right near your house, this is something you need to be watching right this minute. I would honestly go in there and see what they have, take some notes, do some scans, and see what's going to be viable. So when it is on sale, you're there the day and you know right where to go on those specific items if you're going to do the Payless RA on there. I honestly have better luck on RA in food stores, honestly, like Kroger's or something. I've talked about Kroger's before. Food Lion and some of them in some of the areas used to be good at that, but Kroger's, for me, the most part, RA, you get better results from the managers. They're more flexible than, like, say, Walmart. Some Walmart managers will do you something, a nice deed and give you a break on something, but for the most part, none of them will that I've really talked to. I've had one that set stuff aside once before, but Kroger's, they want it out of there. They've got some goal. And most of the Kroger's now, they've pulled all their RA, all the stuff that you can make money off of has been pulled up to the front. All of ours restructured the Kroger's around here, and they broke up and took apart the organic food section, all this. So right now, if you go to Kroger's, you can get certain items for RA dirt cheap. And I'm hauling this out because ours is wiped out. I've already done all the ones around here. But Kroger's is restructuring. I can't say they're doing it in every state, but in Ohio, I know they are because I've seen it in several stores. They've literally changed the entire layout of the store. It took me a long time to shop. I ended up spending, half the time trying to figure out where they put the markdowns and the discount and the clearance stuff, too, because then I realized it was in the front on the other side where I didn't enter. So, they're doing it right now. So that's the kind of thing that can really rake you in some money. With food, of course, you got to know the date codes and things like that. There's Julian codes is basically what they're called, or Julian codes. That's the code that's written on food. I worked in foods for a long time, so you can go to most of the sites and they'll actually give you the date code information. You can actually go to the USDA site and they have to have a record of it there. It's literally a federal law that any date code information has to be available at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration as well too. And I worked and have a cert from the USDA for HAZOP, which is Hazard Analysis of Critical Control Points, which is a food thing that they do in USDA facilities. So anyway, once you know that, food's a killer thing, especially certain seasonal items. Most grocery stores, I'm going to give you this secret here, most grocery stores order seasonally for like events, for even like meats and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you can't sell meats over line. I'm going to get to questions in just a minute there. I see some going off there. But what you can get from like a Kroger's, I've talked about this in several other videos, like the walnuts and stuff, the pecans, when they make the pies and stuff after fourth quarter is over, they've got to get rid of that all. A store like that buys it in big bulk. We had, 5, 10, and 20-pound boxes of walnuts and pecans and all that kind of stuff. And it's got a shelf life of almost a year because a grocery store has to buy it so much out. They have to have it in advance. And it has to sit for long enough where they're not going to lose it because you're talking some money. So, there's a ton of stuff going on at Kroger's right now in my book, because we sent in a bunch of boxes to FBA. So, it's out there. There's a good chance to get it. That's your good call out for today on that. But let's see here. I got a 78 record haul. I'm not sure if I'm going to show that or not. There's a lot of Edison discs in there. If you haven't seen Edison discs, I may just put it in a few Edison discs in another one, and then just talk a little bit about the differences in them and what to look for. Um, Edison discs are really thick discs. They're big platter discs, basically. Some of them run the opposite direction, where they play from the inside of the disc to the outside of the disc, instead of a modern disc that plays from the outer edge of the disc to the inside of the disc. There's like lateral and things like that in those discs too. So I'll probably touch on that as well. I've had another bunch of questions on our employees here. Employee-wise, I do not hire virtual employees at all. Everything is in-house. Everything we pay, I do the workman's comp and the whole works. You know, we have a ENI or EIN, which we've had for a long time. I have an accountant that just does payroll for us. Every aspect of it is done by someone else, basically. I fill out the basic paperwork. They're required to check, you know, their social security number, verify citizenship, in the whole works. So at the end of the year, I am supplied with, you know, all the proper tax forms, which they've already been given to my employees. So, you know, it's perfectly fine that way. If you have an S-Corp or something like that, you yourself will have payroll paperwork too, because then you pay yourself from the company, and the company's its own entity, and you are basically an employee and / owner. So, you know, look into that too, depending on your size of your business. I know a lot of people may not be huge or big, but that's a consideration, as is like a BOP or an insurance or something along that line. And I'm not going to dig into that one again, because I know a lot of people aren't as interested. You're new, you're starting off, and, you know, that's just the way it is. Another question here, and I've started writing down when I get a bunch of the same questions here, just so I can kind of address them in a video here as well too. The biggest thing I've had asked on from newer people getting into it is, what should I sell first? And the biggest answer and the best answer to that is, you sell what you can flip the quickest. Quick money for someone starting off is 100% the most important thing you can do, because that way you're not tying up money in inventory like I do or other people do. Long tail is not for somebody unless they have the money and the funds to do it, and they have the time and equity into this to know what they're doing. So, you know, just keep that in mind when you're doing this kind of stuff. Don't go for the long haul when you're just starting off and you don't have a lot of money. You want that quick flip. So I would literally recommend passing by expensive items, even if you could flip them in the long run when you're first starting off, just to make sure you're not tying up needed funds. Let's say you just quit your job or something and you want to do this full-time, you're doing it part-time, which I wouldn't recommend, mind you. Do this full-time and work for somebody else full-time if that's what it takes you, so you know you will succeed and keep going once you quit your full-time job. But, you know, the point of it is to be cautious at what you do. When you first start off, flip everything as quick as possible. I'm not saying take the first offer that comes in the door and, you know, even if it's a low offer, to get your money back, but get better items that are worth flipping quick. You know, that's the key to this. Don't hold on to stuff when you're new. You know, I talk a lot about long tail items. What I do may not work for someone else at all. It may be totally against what would make your business go or not. You know, a proven point, a lot of people, though, do find the stuff that I sell a lot less headache, more enjoyable, and, you know, it's not a rat race or a grind with clothing. Nothing wrong with clothing. I love clothing. You know, we buy and do still sell occasionally jackets and things like that. So I do have a affinity for, you know, like leather coats and stuff like that. But for me, I just hated the measurements and I hated all the other aspects about it. I hated it having to put it on a mannequin. And for me, if I do a jacket, I turn it inside out so you can see it inside outside and you know, have a real good grasp on what you're buying, you know, and it really alleviated a lot of the issues with returns and stuff, but never been a big fan of clothing. My biggest thing that I would love to be more involved in is wholesale in the first place. So that's where all the money's at. That's where you can, you know, sell stuff and not have the legwork involved in it, where you can keep building a business with just wholesale items. Get one, then two, then three, then four. It may take you a couple of years, so you're going to need some other funding again. So that's why people still do clothing. And again, I'm no offense to anybody doing clothing. Nothing wrong with it in any way, shape, or form. There's people who make much more than I do, even just selling shoes from what I've heard. But again, I like what I do. So if you like selling shoes or you like selling clothes, you know, boom, that's for you. Don't do something that you don't like doing. We're going to bring the wife out. She's just come down the steps here. So if we'll welcome her on, let me get her a chair. I was going to say, hopefully you didn't wear green.
Oh, no. Hello.
Marky, for those who haven't met the wife, making sure we're in there. She's got a pair of the blue glasses if you haven't seen yet. Let me grab this over here.
Oops, I moved my...
Yeah, hang on just a second here. Let us get situated here. We'll go into the questions in just a few minutes here. Going back up to the top of the chat just in case I missed something here. I'm just going to go over just a couple quick things here. Let's see here. Next week, my schedule might be a little different here. You may not see a What's Sold on eBay video on Sunday, just FYI. Just because I'm going to get some more content out. And I've got a big flea market this weekend. So if you want to see what goes on at a flea market, an antique flea market that I personally go to, I'm going to have, video as well as sound coming from there. I'm not going to do as much fast forward, so you're going to get to see some of the content and the haggling and the whole works. My son's going with me. This is one where I know some of the vendors there, and I've actually been to this one many times. I always end up making $500, $600, maybe $700 on a decent day at this place. So if you want to see what's involved in some of this this weekend, I hope to have it up. But again, I'm going out this weekend, so Saturday I'm going to be gone all day sourcing. And there's several other sources around where we're going, so I might even hit a couple thrift stores and all too. I'm not sure who all is going to go with us. My oldest son he's got some stuff going with college, and he's got a chemistry thing going on, so I don't know if he's going to. Ian is gone for the evening too. He's got to be out of town helping a family member move, so we wished him safety and good luck on his trips as he's traveling a little distance there. Let's see here. I got the flea market I've got some postcards I may show off in a little bit here. Let's see here. For patrons, I do have a new video coming out here, and it's going to be another BOLO video. It's something that I thought about for a while. Whatever I do, hopefully you realize, whatever channel or whatever I'm broadcasting videos on, I spend a lot of time and thought into what I do. I'm trying never just to throw something out. I try not to, clickbait or anything like that. I'm trying to be honest with what we put out here in the content. Again, I got a growing list of, say, 350 different items and things that I could do on videos here, and I just try to wheedle them away. When I get a lot of questions, I may switch up on something to put that one ahead. I promise you, though, that the Make Your Own Ornament will be out next week. Again, it's something that religiously sells for, say, $100 on average. And you'll get to see photos and some eBay listings of this item. I know some other people have done this in the past. They don't do it anymore, so I'm pretty safely able to show you this. And it has a tie-in to what we do because they're Victorian. I'm going to show you shortcuts. I'm going to show you items you can do like this. I'm going to show you just how to do one, but you sure as heck should be able to branch off and do a ton of stuff on here with what I show you in that video. So, that's the key to what's going on here with us. Wife's been pretty busy with helping everything around here, too. We have a tortoise here, too, that we had to rush out. I was kind of busy. I don't think I was even home, and it was so cold in our house during this time. So we've had a lack of sleep. I've probably got bags under my eyes. Just because
beautiful.
it was so cold in this house. We've got tons of blankets, and we had the stove running. Unfortunately, I hate doing that, but, you do what you got to do. We have animals, and I wasn't going to leave. Somebody, made a comment that, you should have got a hotel there. It's very hard to get a hotel in the last second with animals, and we would never leave our animals in a unheated house.
They're our family.
Yeah, and I'd feel uncomfortable leaving the stove on with the animals here, no one else here.
Exactly.
I'd be paranoid the whole time I was gone.
Where are you on
So
here?
we're gonna go back down. Thank you, Richard. Yes, power. Yes, we do have power. It was late last night. It was, I think, dark out when they actually finally turned it on. So, flashlights we actually got to turn off yesterday. It was out for like 2 nights and almost 2 full days. So
at least I had a book to read.
Yeah, we just picked up some books the other day. So howdy everybody. I may not call out everybody's name on here, not to be offensive at all. I run long-winded sometimes, so I try to cut the time down and try and get some more questions and some more information on here.
You just like talking.
Yeah, I don't mind talking.
I like the background. I just noticed it. I thought it was
Hey,
flames.
Duncan. Oh, it's Friday. I forgot. Duncan's in Australia, so he's got a different day on us here. I got something up your line, Duncan. I've got some rev stamps, some BOBs in a haul video that I put up earlier today, if you're interested. It was a pretty good score. I've got some other paper from that same place that I didn't show just because I want to get some value, and I might actually have a buyer for it. But, Duncan, you may like that. Hey, will you take less? Anthony, thank you. Let's see here. Let me pop down and see if I got any questions. Global doo-doo. Yep, it could well have been. Jennifer, Carl, how are you doing? Let's see here. And again, let me say one more time, thank you to Flippin' South. I am so glad it does help your business. I'm not one to give out bad information. So there was some folks in the feedback here talking about the eBay return policy that, insisted I was wrong and didn't know what I was talking about, and that the statements that I made about the feedback totally being removed if someone opens a case was a lie. I literally had to go in there and post a copy of it straight from eBay, because I just wanted to end the whole topic on that. Because the return policy that I state in that video is 100% straight from eBay's mouth, as well as the policy. I can show you the policy for every statement I made in that video. I know it all too well. I spent my time when I do a video, and I make sure that I'm giving you as straight as arrow information as I can possibly give you. It's the only way you're going to learn something. I would never want to give somebody bad information. I mean, I hate getting bad information. I bought something from somebody locally here, and it wasn't quite what it was stated to be, and that aggravates me more than anything else. Just be straight up with me. It's not like I'm not going to run into you again at some point because it's a small.
They didn't give out the correct information. I thought I was buying a pair of sandals.
Oh yeah. We were all excited. It was a cheap pair of sandals. I mean, they were expensive pair of sandals, but she got them dirt cheap, and they were in the adult section. It listed just standard size. She gets them in the mail, and they're little kids, like infant shoes, enlisted in the wrong section. Obviously, that was very annoying.
We had a baby, and he wore them, so.
Yeah, it wasn't the point. We ended up holding on to them just in case, but, it wasn't what we wanted.
Item was not as described.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, thank you, Carl. Hey, RVA, how you doing there? RVA's got a pretty good channel. I kind of have him on in the mornings. Him and Bearded Picker usually have some long shows going on, and I usually am packing or doing stuff like that around. As soon as an employee gets here, I usually got to turn it off or throw some headphones on. But in fact, we just bought headphones for everybody. I got a whole stack of headphones here.
Those are
nice Sonys. If I don't have one sitting here, but you want to grab one?
Yeah.
If you can get these on RA or as a wholesale deal, I don't care if they're used. I'm going to have her grab a couple or one of them. We got a bunch of these. Just FYI. I love these headphones, comfort-wise. She's got one that she's actually using. I don't really know. There's another one over there. We got a whole bunch of these. I think I got one for every employee plus. But these you can get probably about $12 to $15 as a wholesale deal. Here's them out of the package too. I mean, they're not anything spectacular, but you can flip these and make a quick $8 a pop on them.
I love them.
I like them. I use them. I mean, we bought some to sell. Just because I got a real good deal on a whole bunch of these. And I ended up trying them on, and I ended up getting rid of them, and then she ended up pulling off hers. Because we've had a nice headphone set before. I mean, these are only like $50. They're not Beats or anything. If you look up the quality in Beats aren't as good as they say they are, honestly. So nothing against, the performers or anybody else. That's a business. So, they do sound good. They're just not as high-end as some that I've personally heard in my life. But for the price on these, man, I can flip these probably all day long and make $8, 10, 20 times a day without having to worry about them, as long as I can keep getting them in. But again, just in case you're interested here, you can see it right there. But, it depends on what you get them for. I don't mind on stuff like this if I get them as a return in a wholesale lot, like, I got to buy 500 of them, because they're going to sell at some point. The more you buy, the cheaper they are. So, just keep that in mind. Welcome, everybody else. Again, I'm going to try and get to some questions here. Is choosing to use promoted listings worth it? If you're the only one selling something, or it's very limited item, paper, vintage collectibles of any kind, vintage toys, I would never ever do it. All you're doing is giving money away. Like, let's say I have some tin trains or an HO scale train, vintage one, or like an observation car, or Mark's action figures, or Johnny West, or any of that kind of stuff. if you put it on a clearance, all it's going to do is let a collector buy it cheaper. Now, if you've got clothing or something that everybody in the world's selling, you got to do something to differentiate yourself. Do the 2% on a promoted listing, or I know some people say do it high, and then towards the end when you get a bunch of watchers, lower your percentage back down. If you get caught doing that, it's manipulation of site something, I think is what I was told on that, because I did ask on that question. I've never done it because I very rarely run any promoted listings. I don't think we've run any. Yeah. Well, I'll take that back. Around Christmas, I think maybe we did run a little bit. I may run some this coming up week just to compensate for a little lack in listing as much as we normally do. But other than that, I wouldn't mess with it. But again, with clothing or something that everybody has, you will have to do that to differentiate yourself, even if it's only 2, 5, 6%. It just depends on what you have into it, what you can afford to spend on it. But don't do it on collectibles at all. Most of what we sell, or not most of it, probably about 80% of our collectible side, which is a minority of our market, is stuff that I would never ever promote, ever, no matter what. So,
right here, Thomas Francis.
Hang on just a second here. Hello, Thomas. That's the one. Kimberly, Tennessee Kroger's is doing that too. So again, it's not just my Kroger's. That just confirms what I said. If you want the score to go into Kroger's, they had the K-Cups there. And I know Wade's Ventures, he's got a really good channel. He's a good family man. He's got kids. His mom was just in the hospital and all. So, hearts go out to the guy and his family as well, too. He was talking about the K-Cups, and I saw some at ours. The one brand, I wasn't ungated, I think, for the Starbucks brand, but the Cougar, or what's it called? What's the Keeger, or... I can't think. Keurig, I think maybe is what it's. Keurig, yeah, the cups. I'm ungated to sell those, and I can sell the Keurig Starbucks ones, but I can't sell the straight Starbucks ones. So, you never fail. So we can sell the knockoff, so to speak, or the licensed product, but we can't sell the straight product. But that's with RA. But if Kimberly's got the same issue at her Kroger's, I would honestly look at your Kroger's right this minute. They just started doing it about 10 days ago. It didn't take me but 2 trips there to wipe it out. They're putting some more out. I've already got it in, so I'll know when the next stuff goes out ahead of time. Kroger's is right now, as I said, so check that out if you RA at all. Check out Kroger's and see what's going on there, because they wiped out. Our Kroger's is a super one. They closed down all the little ones, which is something they've been doing nationally, closing down the small ones, making a big one to challenge Walmart to get some of that business back, and they've been having issues. So we even got decent clothing. I didn't buy it for myself. I bought it for somebody else, but we got some decent clothing there that we swapped with somebody else that was on clearance for, really dirt cheap. Holiday stuff was marked down.
Cast iron.
They had
Dutch
Dutch ovens, Lodge Dutch ovens. We got marked down there too.
It was like $25.
It was something we ended up selling right off the bat. We had it up for like 2 days. So all of them. We got 7 of those.
Those were nice.
They've got coffee makers there right now. Nice ones, and they had a espresso machine there. What else? We got a bunch of stuff at Kroger's.
That blender that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, we got one of those. It was a $149 blender.
Or Ninja or some.
It was $149. We got it for $39.99, and then that we flipped it for, I think it was like $92 right off the bat. So just FYI, we didn't get a ton of everything, but it was a good haul for what we got. Kroger's, again, if you missed it, are restructuring most of their stores, and they're getting rid of all these departments and moving stuff around. So the best one we've been waiting on is when they start to put out the clearance from the rest of their utensils and pots and pans and stuff. They've got some copper ones there that we've been waiting on. So second they hit the discounts, I'll get a call and we'll go over there and clean those out too. But anyway, that's my secondary haul and information.
Oh, right here.
Would it be worth it to buy Valentine's Day stuff, food, or other stuff tomorrow to resell? I wouldn't mess with any Valentine's food or anything like that.
Unless you like chocolate.
Unless you like chocolate. You're not going to be able to do much with that. Valentine's marked like that. I would not hold, obviously, till next year. If it has food in it, the expiration date's going to be done. I wouldn't mess with anything else like that. Vintage-wise, you're fine on. We list Valentine's if it's any kind of collectible or vintage, even 80s Valentine's cards like Garfield cards and stuff like that.
If it's oddball or weird,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We still list it all. Christmas-wise, I sold a bunch of Christmas. The haul video, and I think I have a link to it down in the feedback area down there. Literally, I've got a bunch of Christmas stuff. That was one of my other marks here that I actually missed already. right now is the best darn time to buy collectible Christmas stuff. Any booth I've seen now has Christmas markdown right now, and most antiques, flea markets, wherever you're going, even the estate sales had it marked cheap this time around. So, just keep that in mind. Christmas is mad right now with low costs. As it gets even into summer, it's going to go up a little bit towards the end of summer. Third quarter, it's high. This is the time we buy as much Christmas as we can. I got some Hollycraft Christmas trees the other day, quite a few of them from a person who had been collecting them, clearing out a collection. So again, Christmas stuff right now. I already said it. We already did our Christmas for this year wholesale-wise last year in fourth quarter. So I'm done on that. We're just picking up, knickknacks and collectibles to run our collectibles aspect of it for you too. So,
Brian, he says hello.
Hey, Brian, how you doing? She's got a haul piece she found on her neck here, too. We talk about jewelry a lot. That's actually rock crystal. Yep. Hand-carved rock crystal stones. That is not glass.
And it's mine.
Yeah, she found it, she paid it, and she kept it. It's $9.50, some kind of British sterling as well, too. It is probably from the Victorian era, circa 1910. I still haven't found the maker's mark anywhere. To show who it is. It has a maker's mark, but I am clueless on it. Never seen anything like it. That is the only quartz piece, quartz crystal like that we've ever had. Yeah. The thing's like a $500 necklace.
I'll eventually have to get it restrung.
Yeah, it needs a little work on it, but it's a nice piece.
I'm afraid to wear it out because it might break, so I just wear it around the house.
Yeah, she's worn it out maybe once or twice, but so when you see stuff like that at a Savers or something, it's not always glass.
Oh,
it's
you have
actually
to bring up Savers. I love that.
It's actually sometimes rock crystal, which is hand carved. So keep that in mind too.
The inclusions are really
neat. Look at something like that with a loop. Look at a crystal, just a normal crystal like you see at one of the mysticist places or something like that. And look at the inclusions and look for that when you're looking for this. I've already had it checked out at a jeweler, so I know it's exactly rock crystal. He actually offered us money for it on the spot.
And I was like, are you crazy?
Yeah, he knows us enough to, he started laughing, of course, when he offered us money. He raised the price and then laughed, but, price-wise isn't something always a consideration. If it's something we really like, I don't care what it's worth. We're going to keep it or do what we want with it, so.
Okay, let's see, right here. Made it to a live show.
Welcome, Kathy.
Carl. Hi, how you doing?
Let's see where we're. Hey, Scott.
Scott, yes.
Again, I'm on Instagram. Scott was another one I just saw. He popped on just a little bit ago onto my Instagram. So again, I am on Instagram. I'm going to do 1-minute little lessons on Instagram videos. At least 2 a week is what I'm shooting for starting next week. It's not a lot of time to put into it, but it'll give you some new stuff. And I'm always constantly clicking stuff with my camera, photos of items that I find or what I'm hauling. And sometimes I send those photos to other people to see if they're interested in it. And I'm going to post some of those as well, too, so you can see some of the inner workings. And I might even include everything but the person's name on what I send to that person. So, give you an insight on how I talk to customers and buyers and things like that. And again, this has nothing to do with eBay, that aspect of it. This is just selling things locally as well, too.
The Flippin' South. Yes, you that's how you spell my name with the EY.
And thanks again, Flipping South. Greatly appreciate it.
Jennifer, happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. I kind of have a heart in the background. We had planned some other activities and things and stuff for it, but with the past 2 days, it literally set us back so bad. I didn't even know if we were going to be or online with still having power out. There's still people that won't have power until tomorrow evening in the general area we're in right this minute. The worst. This is the worst it's been in an area we've lived in since Katrina. And the morning when I came out, I knew school was down at 5:30. There was no way. There was just so much ice. There was, in fact, I posted a picture of some icicles we saw down by a train area down there. I mean, there was icicles just everywhere. I mean, 2 foot, 3 foot long icicles. It was just a bad ice storm. We've got tons of branches in our yard. We're going to have a nice little, our chiminea will have a good use when it's a little warmer outside.
Right here. Duncan.
I'm sorry, I'm reading Duncan's here. He had posted something in our Facebook group on a Charlotte town. Pointed out was Charlotte, North Carolina. Many places used to be called other names. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. When you were finding town names, even this goes for postcards, old photos, anything, paper, letters, covers, philatelic items, anything like that. there's towns that had different names. So you've got to take that in consideration. Her hometown, what was it called? Wasn't it
Bay
called?
St. Louis.
Yeah, but wasn't it called something else before that?
Shieldsboro Squares.
Yeah, so I'm saying every town has a different name at some point, or could have a different name. So when you're looking up stuff, think about the other name possibilities, that there is. Let me see here. I don't want to miss anybody.
Right here. Reselling with Rob.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Rob. That is correct, 100%. Aaron, your video is probably going to be up. Aaron had made a comment here on, and it was a darn good question, and he wasn't the only one who answered it, but Aaron put it to a better point on, how to tell on which auctions and which estate sales and things to go to. I've got some that I'm going to show you. We're going to show you some from some of the sites that we use and, that other people use as well. And I'm going to show you what I personally look for in ones that I go to. My goal was to originally show you one and then go there and actually video there, but the folks there are fuddy-duddies on some things, and I don't want to offend anybody, so I don't think that part of it's going to happen, but I will have that up here, and that's an ode to Aaron up there too. So
okay, that was the one you just had.
Yeah.
House of Treasures.
Welcome, House of Treasures. I saw you in the crowd at Bearded Picker live chat with a group of folks he does that with.
That's Carl.
Yeah, I chat, and we chat back and forth. I've talked to Scott for a little bit here and there, and we have shot the information around, I guess you could say. Scott's a really good guy. His wife's going through chemo right now, so I have a connection with the guy too. He's my age. I mean, down to the T, just minus a few months. His background is in foods as well as ours was. So, I enjoy, he reminds me of our cousin of ours, and he kind of reminds me of the homey feeling that we had in, living in Mississippi or in the South to some extent. So he's from Alabama, and we've been to some very close places to him. And so anyway, yeah, I do go on there and shoot out some comments and stuff on that channel for sure.
And this one right here.
Well, thank you, Marrakech7.
Duncan.
Well, thanks again, Duncan. I pulled out my Australia postage stamp collection, and you're going to see some of those posted in my Facebook group as well, just an FYI. I've got a bigger collection of Australian stamps than I think even some of the American stamps. Now, American 19th century I have a real good collection on, but new stuff I don't have as much. But Australia, I did get a big collection once, and instead of selling it, I kept it just because it was two real nice bind books. I mean, expensive books, expensive stamps, early areas in like Western Australia, and all the other little state areas out there too, which I thought was really interesting. I've always liked the penny black and the whole works too. If you don't know what that is, look up penny black and you'll get a real quick answer on it. Any Google search you do.
Is that to you, or?
I think they're talking to. Let's see here. Where are we?
Okay, up here, but then.
Yeah, I do, Tommy. I do listen to RVA as well too. His is usually playing. I do rap back and forth with him as well. Let's see here.
Oh, Duncan, his wife is in Java. Ooh.
Yeah, we had a tour photo album once before. It had a bunch of Java pictures, and I think I still even have some now. Keurig, yep, that's it. That's exactly what it was. Now, if you go to Kroger's and you pull out and you find the K-Cups and stuff like that, and you're gated for the ones that are straight from Starbucks or one of the companies, look at Keurig's company itself. I got ungated on that instantly. The first time I saw it, and that's months ago, before season actually, we sold some, I had like 60 or some odd boxes of the K-Cups. There were 72 count that I got on clearance somewhere, and I ended up selling those because I got ungated instantly. So ever since then, I paid attention. I originally thought when I first scanned some, and I couldn't get ungated on the Starbucks straight version, that I thought we wouldn't get ungated at all. And then one day somebody else said, "Hey, just check each brand." And I didn't think about it. I don't know why I didn't even think about it, because I do that with toys and everything else. Yeah. I just figured if it said Starbucks, I was going to be gated on it, but that's not the case. So check out whatever you find there. As I said, Wade on Wade's Ventures, he had the K-Cups he was talking about too. Here it's different. It's Kroger's right now, or was Kroger's, and they literally had a ton of stuff on clearance. So we had went for several days in a row, and she had to come with me because we actually filled a couple of carts up out there, and I actually ended up having to pull the car up and everything because I don't want to have to wheel three shopping carts out of the store and all. But anyway,
Right here.
do you sell or have you sold those veteran snapback trucker caps or hats? For example, the U.S. or Vietnam hat. Yeah, I've got some actually right up there. You can't see them, obviously, but I've shown some. I've got, I picked up some Champion spark plug ones. They're trucker hats. The best ones, obviously, are the ones that have the dual little band of rope around it's like a braided rope that's on the flap of it, or whatever you want to call it, on the hat. That's usually what I look for. They have a different look than the other ones. I pick up trucker hats. I pick up hats, and I pick up eyewear. Did we just phase out? I pick up trucker hats and eyewear as well, too. I won't give up on the eyewear. I like vintage glasses. She's got a lot of vintage glasses. Funky ones, psychedelic ones, 60s ones. We've got a bunch that fold. So, I mean, we keep a lot of that. And if you know anything about vintage, the early gold-colored frames, a lot of those are gold-filled. And I usually can pick those up for a couple dollars. And on average, there's, say, $30 to $34 on an average pair of gold-filled reading glasses from, say, 1940s or before. The gold-filled ones now. When it says 1/10 12-karat gold-filled or 1/10 14-karat gold-filled. There's more, obviously, in 1/10 versus 1/20th, but all of those are worth good money. I can get those in antique malls, antique stores all the time, and they don't know that they're gold. They never check the bridge. They only check the earpieces on those. So if you're looking at the gold-colored glasses, like on hers or something, it's right there on the inside of the nose piece. It's usually written in there in real small letters. That's why I tell you to always, always, always bring a loupe with you wherever you go.
Oh, yeah.
If you need a loupe, I've got 2 down there that we actually own in my in the description for this feed. It's in the description of all of mine. I do get a commission on those. Again, I'm not preaching it that way, but you need a good one. I've got 2. I've got a lighted, well, I've got more than 2, but I've got 2 that I specifically use. I've got a lighted one, which really helps out. Then I've just got a standard old one with good optics. The ones I use the most are 1940s Bausch & Lomb Bakelite ones that I bought a case on years ago, and everybody in the household has these. I gave them to the kids and everything else. My youngest, who's going with me, as I said, this weekend, he's got his own loupe that he takes with him. He scored something that he'll probably show in a video. You get to see him. He likes military collectibles, and he got a World War II German gas mask, and a real early one too, leather, the whole works. I in no way promote any hate or anything like that. I'm fine with collectibles for military and historical value. Nobody in this household has any inclinations or like of anything, German World War II, other than the collectability of it. So when I say that, I don't want anybody coming back and giving me any hate for that, but it's a collectible piece. The soldiers who fought these wars are fighting them on the bequest of the government. They don't have much of a choice, so just keep that in mind. But he got this killer piece. It's a leather gas mask. It's got the entire canister. It's got replacement pieces that never even been out of it. It's an original. It's a sight to see if you like vintage historic collectible items. Again, it's a World War II gas mask. It's got the strap and everything. It's one of the most complete ones I've ever seen in my life. He found it at a show that we were at together, so he's very proud of the thing. So anyway.
Right here, Anthony. I'll be right
really
back.
Glad I found your channel.
Gotta get something to drink.
Oh, yeah, listen to you. Let's see here. I appreciate your information videos. Almost at 1 year reselling and needed someone to help me continue to grow my knowledge base. Well, thank you very kindly, Anthony. The biggest thing that most people don't get, and I don't know how many people blow these off. You would not be surprised. Well, some people would be surprised at all the hate I get on things I show, and people talking about you're never going to find this. These are crazy items and stuff. I don't only have them on this channel because I sell them. I mean, if you can't see that I do everything that I talk about. I mean, this is one of the hauls I just got. These are all real picture postcards, California. I do this constantly. I don't. If somebody spent a day with me, you'd pretty much realize instantly, what comes on and what we get and the quantities and stuff. I may not get, RA as much as some people, and I may not have the massive clothing that people get, but I can outnumber in quantity and sheer quantity and cost that I spent on almost every single item I sell is way lower than anything else anybody else sells, and I have more potential to sell something for a higher dollar than anybody selling clothing. I've sold clothing, as I said, for two 2.5 years, almost 3 years, we did clothing. That's what we started with full time. I've always sold vintage and toys and things like that for 20 plus years. I did a minor RA when we first started. I did a ton of FBA books, and I did the clothing on eBay. The one category that I make the most in every single year since 20 plus years, that I make the biggest profit for the least amount of investment, are vintage records. Hands down, I have never made more money in any category ever, even wholesale, even RA, even the quick flips in RA where I can make $2 or $3 grand. I have never in my life made as much money in records than in anywhere else other than in records, across the board. You know, you get one record that sells for $4,200. The next month I get one that sells $1,800. We're talking single $1.45s, mind you. We're not talking some scarce, you know, you're never going to see this kind of thing. Well, obviously they're scarce, but it's not some crazy thing. These aren't crazy prices. You know, I'm in the know in these categories. You know, and there's some other people here that I've been talking to who are picking up on records. You know, and I do discuss some in my Patreon group as well, but they're... For those of you who've stepped into the realm of records and vintage and collectibles, I can 100% say that there's more money to be had in vintage collectibles, if you can find them, than there are in clothing any day of the week. Any day of the week. I don't know how many times I find something worth hundreds of dollars, and a friend that we talk to, or friends that are selling something, they got a Chanel shirt or something. Once a month, they're lucky to get some real good score like that, and they might make a couple $100. Every day in a row on some weeks, I find something worth a couple $100, you know, for nothing, because people are unaware. People are unaware. That's where I've made the majority of our money to get to the point where I have. We've reinvested everything. We save it. I don't spend it. I don't buy fancy stuff. You know, I don't mind wearing a vintage coat, or her having, you know, a jewelry piece, or getting to keep something, you know. When we first started off, we sold everything because we had to, but nowadays it's a different story. Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to ramble on that. So let's see where we're at.
Did you get just me, Kathy? She misses
I miss
living in Mississippi.
We didn't have Kroger's in Mississippi either. We
did. There was a Kroger's there, but there was Jitney Jungles, Del Champs.
Jitney Jungle was the one we went to.
Del Champs and Winn-Dixie.
IGA was the other one. IGA.
That was a Florida thing.
No, that was in Collins.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
they did
Collins,
have
Mississippi, and there, IGA in Collins, Mississippi. Let's see where we're at.
Okay. Oh, the Edison disc.
True 72. Go to Pop Psych. Just pop on Pop Psych. You can look up so many a day for free. I think they limit to I think it's 20 searches a day for free. We have a paid account on Pop Psych. It's the only account that I've ever paid for and routinely pay for. I've paid for a Pop Psych account for, maybe 15 years. And not just because I wanted to sell them, but because I collected at one point too.
Oh, right here.
But I'll throw up some videos or a video including some 78s in it as well too.
And Carl. Like the pillows and the animals for Valentine's Day.
I personally wouldn't mess with them. Not those lightweight stuff. It's going to be a hard, long flip for the most part. I wouldn't FBA that. Look at the ranking on it. Use I don't know. Don't want to say use an app because most people might not have the apps and stuff, but you use at least check them out on Amazon. If you got a seller account, you can just see where the rank is real easily, if they're even on there. It should show a rank for this year at least. If it's something you could possibly, if it's softwares or, you know, soft goods or something, it might be something you can hang on to till next year. But I honestly don't see a big flush in that. A lot of people just buy them locally from what I personally see. You know, maybe somebody will call and do a flower order over line or something, but I don't see too many people ordering that much kind of stuff offline, in my personal opinion. I don't look for it that much, so, you know, I could be off on that, but I know Vintage always sells on Valentine's Day. They do sell ahead of time for Valentine's Day. Obviously, we put our Valentine's stuff up, as I said, a month or so ago. Yeah. We already had it mostly up at that point. So, and I did sell Valentine's all the way through to today. I sold a couple Valentine's postcards just today, believe it or not.
The only thing I would say is if he's lucky enough to find one of the Simon's cat plush.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll take that back. Simon's cat, she's right. Type in Simon's cat and look at some of the videos on that.
On YouTube, yeah.
It's a YouTube thing. It's awesome. I love the Simon's cat. He got the mannerisms down of a cat. He owns cats, so you're either a cat person or not. We have dogs, obviously, but we had cats in the wild. He's got a plush one, and I do believe it's a Valentine's Day one, too. It's worth a lot of
they're
money.
limited.
It's a couple $100,
yeah.
so... And it might be something that might show up at like a
It's
Hallmark
a white
or something.
Plush
Yeah,
Simon's cat.
Yeah, just type it in. That's the one plush Valentine's that I would recommend. And if it's vintage again, there's a good opportunity. But this is something that's really new that it's out there right now. And I don't know how many people know what Simon's cat is and would see it out there. He's got a couple million subscribers, maybe not even that much. I don't really remember, but we've seen probably 70 of his videos, honestly. They're just a minute and a half at the most, but they're really funny ones
They
too.
are hilarious.
It's his cat and then a little tiny kitten and stuff. But he's got plushes, and I'm almost sure they were Valentine's Day. I think she's exactly right on that one. And we actually were, if we had a chance to get one cheap, she might actually keep it because
kept it. Yeah.
unless I get like 100 of them, they're gone. You know, so.
And then black crystal dice. Marky has the jewelry to die for.
That one was very tempting to sell it, but at this point I have almost nothing into it because I didn't even know that's what it was. But again, I pulled out the Loope. The price, it was sterling, so we bought it not knowing whether it was glass or not. I didn't even care because
I just like the looks of it.
even if it wasn't quartz crystal, even if it was just glass, it's still a nice vintage piece because the markings on it there's no way that's a new piece. It's vintage, old days carving. Hey, Landshark Picker, how you doing? Check him out, too, if you get a chance. He's got a pretty good channel. He's on there with RVA2. I listen and rap back and forth with him as well, too, in the morning sometimes. Haven't, obviously, this last couple days because we've been out of power, but I do chat with him, too. He's actually reached out and offered some possibility of doing something together as well, too, so... 1910 Edwardian. That very well could be the case, Rob. The markings look a little earlier than that, but I would say that it's 1890s when they would put a 950 mark on something at the very earliest, at least from my personal experience.
Hey, if it's Edwardian, I'd still love it, though. I love the Edwardian,
We had a
era.
Well, remember that she kept something the other day. In fact, I listed it, and then we decided as she wanted it, so it was I've got an 1870s. Real big Victorian, it's gilded brass. It's a really nice piece. That's probably one of her nicer pieces. And I've got a real nice bangle we just picked up the other day. Turns out it's 10 karat solid gold. I know that's basically gold filled, but it's a 10 karat marked piece basically. I'm sorry, not 10 karat. It was 8 karat. It's a 8 karat gold piece, which is like a British. It would be considered gold filled here, from what I understand. Oh, now you did it.
I hate that. It just. Here we go.
There you go. Oh, now you're too far up, I think. Oh, no, you're not.
No, it's right. Yeah, see. Hello from Virginia.
Yeah, we've been to Virginia.
You didn't sound so happy about
that.
No,
it wasn't. Hey, Annie, how you doing? Hello from Kentucky. We have friends that were raised and grew up in Kentucky.
I've got family in Kentucky.
Yeah, she's got family. Let's slide it down a little farther. Our chat's all over the place. Hey, Dad's Vintage Garage, how you doing?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Honestly, Rob, I didn't know that at first when I first started on here. I was trying to figure out how people got that on there and the @ sign. So, yeah, that does do it.
And then Anthony.
Hey, Anthony. Ghostbusters. Are you talking about the action figures? I'm not sure what you're talking about. The vintage Ghostbusters action figures, some of those do sell. We've had some. We've had the fire station. We've had the vehicles.
Well, remember our neighbors? They had all the Ghostbusters action figures and the automobiles, and then someone broke into their house and stole it.
Stole their Ghostbusters action. This is a while ago,
and they
too.
had kept it for their son,
Yeah.
Like, what a...
Why don't you pop down there and see where we're at?
I'm afraid to touch this thing.
You have got all the Western Australia early Swan stamps. Some are worth good money. There's a ton of Swan stamps, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's literally the 2-binder set. I think it's Harrison's. I think it's at Harrison's. It's literally back here. I would have to climb around lights and stuff. I will show some pictures, and I'll maybe show a scan of the front of it. But we bought a collection. It's been now 3 or 4 years. And the lady just said a bunch of unused stamps for $150. And, I figured, she said the face value was at least $150. So I figured, I'd go out there, I'd take a look and see what she said. She said she got them from an older couple that had since passed away from a car accident. They took over the estate. I get out there and I don't know how many It was probably like 100 sheets of unused postage stamps is what she was looking at. And then she said a bunch of junk in these bags. It was a big, like a duffel bag, like a military duffel bags of stuff. And there was all this stuff just jumbled in there. They just shoved it in this thing off of a shelf. There was books in there. We sold all of the unused postage stamps. I think we got like 60 cents on the face on the postage stamps, and we were selling them. There was a bunch of John Wayne ones in there, and those all sold for a little over face value. They were like commemorative sheets and stuff like that. So we made like triple our money on those. And then I sold a bunch of, there was some BOBs in there. And then I sold some a bunch of poster stamps. That's when I really got into poster stamps. And ever since then, I've been hunting down, and we buy, a couple hundred poster stamps a month nowadays, just because of that purchase. It led me in another direction. So you never know what's going to happen on those. But I'm going to show you some of those, Duncan, there.
Right here. Death piles.
Any tips on growing a channel? It's going to take you time, and don't do it for money. That's the number one thing I can tell you. I live this life. This is what I do 24/7. So everything I do here, is what I normally do. Yeah. I normally talk about stuff like this with people. I get calls from people. We converse with friends who do eBay as well too. So, this is what I do most of the time. And we don't have a lot of friends who don't understand the resale market, honestly, these days. Most people who we hang out with do kind of what we do these days, because I have the freedom, and the only people that I know that can take off and go on a trip with us or do something or go somewhere on a spur of the moment is somebody who does what we do. It's just the way it is. Everybody else I know works 60-hour weeks for somebody else and can't do much for themselves.
Annie.
I finally came into enough gold to bother selling for melt. My local shop offers 80% of the daily gold price. Is it good, bad, neutral? Your best bet, Annie, this is how the gold market works in almost every city I've ever been in. We've sold scrap gold since Virginia days. You're talking 15, 20 years. In our town here, and in almost every town, as I said, this is how they work. There'll be one guy that melts it himself. He's probably the best jeweler in town, and he buys most of the gold from all the other dealers in town from them after they've bought it from customers, and he'll pay them the highest price. What you want to do is you want to call everybody who buys scrap gold, and I know it's going to take you a little while, but once you figure out the guy who does this, spend the time, you get the right person who's buying it at the highest price, you only go to them from that point on. I know exactly the guy to go to in the Toledo market area. Hands down, he will pay the most for anything. And when we lived in Florida, the exact same thing. What was it? Gold Star Pawn on Highway 50 in Winter Garden. Wasn't that the one?
Oh my gosh, Brass Cannon.
Brass Cannon, and it was called Brass Cannon. It's on Highway 50 in Winter Garden. He bought everything from everybody else. He bought the Astor estate. He had a diamond from the Astor, the orange juice company, or orange juice heiress, I guess you'd say. The diamond wasn't it about like
huge.
that? She tried it on. I mean, this thing was Shaquille O'Neal bought that, from what he told us, for $275,000 in cash.
It was a big ring.
Yeah, this is when Shaq was in Orlando.
Like a bracelet.
Yeah, the thing, I've never seen or touched a diamond that big in my entire life. He showed me the paper on it. I had a deal with this guy where we did wholesale with him. This is years ago. This is how long ago wholesale goes back with us.
In the 90s. Oh.
I would come into his shop. He had all these appraised pieces of jewelry. I could pick anything I wanted from his new assortments to come in. Yeah. We'd pick it out. He'd let me take pictures of the actual item. I could take the jewelry home if I needed to, or I could take it in the shop, and I could take pictures and scan the actual paperwork to show the appraisals. And whatever I sold it for, I kept the difference. So we did that for a long while there. We got to be real good friends. We ended up moving. It's the only reason we didn't do that for a while. But we did it for a while. He made some good money, and we made some good money. I set my own prices. His prices were dirt cheap for what he sold them to us for, but we moved volume for the guy. So, volume makes the difference. But Annie, call around in town. Ask them what they're paying for spot for silver and gold. What are they paying per ounce for, an ounce of this, an ounce of this, and an ounce of this. There's a gold ticker. You can check the exact price, and that's what they're supposed to do when they do it. So you can verify which ones are being dishonest with you and which ones aren't. Most of the real good people are going to be having that ticker up on their PC instantly, and will give you a quoted price instantly over the phone and what they will pay. When we sold silver, when silver got up to I think it was around $50 an ounce. We sold
a whole bunch.
We sold like 12 pounds, and I'm not exaggerating, like 12 pounds of silver. When it started going up, I was buying it dirt cheap still. and we were just piling it up, and we had like 12 pounds of silver. We sold at like $50 an ounce in one day.
That
and
was nice.
We waited, and we sold at the same time. It was like 1.5 ounces of gold as well too, that my son actually melted. It was the only time he's melted gold like that. But
let's see, I'm not sure about this one. And then Duncan has a question about Civil War sword.
Let me get the sand. There's a person talking about selling sand from a local beach. That is true, and I've talked about like washed up beach glass, washed up glass and stuff like that. Sand does sell. Look online and you will see sand from certain areas. When Mount St. Helen erupted, people were selling powder, and there's even postcards.
They would make things like the potters would.
Yeah, they would make actually like pottery from the actual ashes and stuff. Let's see what time it is. I know we're running. We can actually run a little longer today too. We've got till 9 if we need to today.
But Duncan, right here.
I have a U.S. Civil War sword from an ancestor who was a major aide de camp to General Longstreet. Sword worth anything? Yeah, if it's an original, it's worth a ton of money, I would say, especially if you have a provenance with it and can prove that it would be tied to him. Most swords, unless they're engraved to a specific person, you would not be able to prove who it belonged to. We have a sword here as well, too, which maybe I'll show in a video here. I've done a ton in Civil War in the past. I've had a ton of swords, from a cavalry to, officers, 1840s. I've had blued flame swords with, the full cannon scenes on it. I've had a couple presentation swords. I've had one of my neatest ones. I had an 1834 Costa Rican Imperial Guard sword, and there was apparently only a couple hundred of these, and they guarded the Imperial Palace, basically, or the palace in Costa Rica, or whatever the building would have been called. And it was some really oddball sword, and I ended up getting it for like $35, and I sold it on eBay for $1,450, like in, I don't know, maybe 2 days later. So it was a real good purchase, needless to say.
They have another question too about Civil War.
Any chair. The last chair that we had, I sold locally. Remember the rocking chair?
The rocking chair.
Yeah, I had a collapsible folding rocking chair from, say, 1890. It had an Eastlake pattern to it. It wasn't an original Eastlake. It was a knockoff, but I ended up just not shipping it. I ended up just doing it as a local, just because I don't want to have to mess with it. If you're doing a chair, we did look into it. The best source would be to use your UPS account. We've got a discount with them, so that's what I would use for that if I wanted to ship it. Otherwise, I sold it locally. If it's a Civil War folding chair and it's a legit piece, someone's going to come and get that piece. You would not have to worry about someone picking it up. I can almost guarantee you. Or they would probably give you their actual, their account number, so you could because you can't charge other things on it. You could actually bill their actual account for shipping, and you wouldn't even have to worry about shipping. We've done that before with some other clients that we've had. Some paintings and some other large items. They actually supplied their shipping number. We sold a 1934 Dr. Pepper dump box, and it's actually in a couple movies.
I love that.
We've actually seen it in the movies. But they gave us, there was a prop company from Hollywood. They actually gave us their account number to use. So we crated this thing up. They paid $75 for wood and my time, and we crated it all up for them. And they sent the truck over, and they picked it up. Everything was done for us, and that's happened a half a dozen times or so. Yeah. If it's something Civil War and it's a legit piece, Civil War collectors will do anything to get that piece. I assure you.
Will. Oh, gosh.
We know some very heavy, high-end collectors. I've conversed with Don Troiani, which writes books. He was the authenticity director for The Patriot as well. So, I mean, this guy knows his things. He's a painter. He does massive, awesome quality paintings. And I've talked to Dan Binder on a few occasions, who's the button guy who wrote the book. Haven't talked to Tice, but we used to get North-South Trader Civil War, if you know what that is. So I've metal detected hundreds of times in my life, too.
Heavy hitter.
Let's see here. Where are we? 7 death piles. We missed your yard sale. Okay, you're back to something else. Okay. Does anyone show proof of claims like $39 into $80 on eBay, or $39 at Walmart into $600 on Amazon? Not just the sourced items, but the proof that they sold on some platform. Every week I show what's sold on eBay. So yeah, most people do show it. They don't show it in the video that they pick it up on. Like if I'm stating a price, I'm not going to state what my high hope dreams prices are. I've got a video up that I just put up just today on some banknote checks with rev stamps on it's something that I'm going to honestly make $600 on. It's not some high hope. That's the low bottom end on it. I have no sense in exaggerating the price on it, because at the end of the day, if I'm thinking I'm going to price it for one thing and it's not going to sell for that, I'm not going to be able to sell it at that high price. So just watch my Sunday videos or watch other people's what sold on eBay videos, and they're going to show it. Most people will not show what they sold on Amazon for, because you can tank an Amazon account in a really quick time. It's not like eBay where, you've got some sway. Somebody can tank you on Amazon and kill your Amazon business overnight. So most anybody is not going to show you their Amazon business. It's just a fact. And I don't show things as well that we do wholesale or have inside dealings on. Just because I wouldn't want anybody else taking part of my business away. So there's certain things people just don't share. But I do share things that are in haul videos all the time. Every Sunday, as I said, there's 30, I think, or more weeks of Sunday videos up of what I sold, showing the actual page from my store with the actual ending price on it.
That was the one that you just answered.
Let's see. Kroger shut down in Texas. Yeah, they're probably making a big one, would be my guess. Let's
this
see
one,
here.
she had messed up. That's why she says, "Oops." Kimberly.
We try to add the information here. Again, I've talked about wholesale. I give this away now because it doesn't affect us anymore. We started in wholesale and got our first invoices for Amazon, which actually got us ungated by buying 1,500 religious CDs wholesale with receipts, or invoices, I should say. They were actually bill of ladings and the whole work, so it was an official mass-produced from an actual manufacturer. We bought them straight from the manufacturer of them. They were actually sold at the time on Amazon, so they could confirm and verify everything. We were the only other ones at the time that were able to sell that product. We had a letter from them as well stating that we were authorized to sell their product. And from that point on, we've been ungated in music ever since. Same with DVDs, some toys and things like that as well too. So,
okay, that's the one.
let's see here. How do I find someone that buys storage units so I can buy from them? You need somebody who sells. Just look online. There's storage auctions all the time where they sell storage units, and you can just buy those as well too. Offline, you don't even have to be there in person to buy them.
And Just Me, Kathy, Chitney Jungle.
Yeah, we've been into our share.
Yeah.
I've been into Jackson, Mississippi many times.
And now they're gone. The one in Bay St. Louis is gone.
Yeah, it's
Katrina
totally gone.
We used to sing "Welcome to the Jungle" instead of "Welcome to the Jungle."
Annie, how did you figure out those beads were quartz, not glass? You can see the inclusions in the glass very easily, or in the quartz with a loop. And just from the idea, and in fact, well, I don't think you can see it. There's a couple rubs and chips and one or two spots on it, and after you looked at it, it was just wasn't right, I should say. It was very easy to tell once you've looked at it with a loop. You're going to see fractures in it. Look at a diamond and compare it similar to that. It has the same kind of fractured planes in the quartz. And I took it to the same jeweler that I sell my gold and silver to. So that's why I say you get in good with these people, they give you deals and
he
stuff.
was the one that looked at that emerald necklace that we bought in Saugus, Massachusetts.
Yeah, and he wanted to buy it.
That the people thought that was peridot, and it was
natural.
And it was natural.
Natural emerald.
Emeralds.
She has a real nice emerald cross, and I mean a real nice one. It has like a 1.5 or 2 carat emerald in the center, and then it's got a whole bunch of emeralds on either side. And we bought it in Saugus, Mass, in Brimfields, for $15, and it was even marked gold. It was crazy.
And the jeweler said to soak it like you would an opal in
mineral oil. Yeah, that's
mineral
what I thought.
oil.
I found a coat made by the American Pad and Textile Company, Greenfield, Ohio. They closed.
Henry needs to go use the bathroom.
That's fine.
Right back.
I'm not big on clothing. If it's like a work coat, you're very safe and it would sell fairly well. As long as it's pre-50 or 56, I would say you do pretty good. As long as it's something like that. Other than that, you're going to have to try and find some sort of comp. You may never find another comp like that. It might be some small company even. I've never heard of it. I've only been to Greenfield a couple times in my entire life, honestly. And I lived in Ohio for 17 years. Well, more than that if you count our time now. Hey, Rusted Raccoon, how you doing? Peddling Profits, how you doing? Out of all the places you two lived, what was your favorite area? I would probably have to say Boston, Saugus area. We were up in Boston for a while. I was a regional manager filling in for Einstein Brothers. I used to handle Washington, Virginia, and Maryland as the wholesale guy, too. That's why I say I know wholesale, because I actually ran a wholesale facility, and I was one of the guys who sold the product to other people. So I have had an in wholesale and in foods for, 25 years of my life. So I have done wholesale for 25 years of my life. So if somebody wants to say that I don't know wholesale, I know wholesale very well, probably more than anybody even doing wholesale right this minute, because I've done it from both sides of the stream here. I was a wholesaler, and then I bought from wholesalers too. Then I talked about Kroger's. Why would I know Kroger's? Because I'm a foods guy. Why would I sell that kind of stuff? Again, I'm a foods guy. I know the whole works. With Einstein Brothers, I was actually certified to work with USDA. They actually paid for me to go to Denver, and I took classes in Denver as well, too. But hands down, Boston was one of the most fun times me and the wife had. We only had our oldest one at the point. He was a child. We went whale watching off Gloucester, and it was just a really good experience. We drove all over. We went to Brimfields, which was just awesome. We actually flew in the next time around into Boston a day and a half early out of our own, time frame, just to go to Brimfields before I had to go and report for work while we were there. But Boston, hands down, was awesome, I have to say. Really neat experience. I loved going into the old houses, and we were in, I think it was Raven, Connecticut, I think, and every house had a plaque that said somebody famous, Washington or Jefferson, or all these famous people slept all over the place. It was just a really cool experience walking into a house that you've got to duck because it was made in like 1640. That's probably one of my favorites. I loved, Virginia. There were some good aspects of it. I didn't like it after 9/11. Because we were there for that, or the sniper shootings. I hated that aspect of it.
Ooh, the snipers, yeah.
Been to New York, I'm not a big, I was, I felt trapped in the city, just to tell you. I mean, I couldn't stand all the folks around me. It was just a bit much. I get,
claustrophobic?
Not claustrophobic, but I'm not great around people sometimes.
Social anxiety.
I guess maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, I used to be an altar boy and used to serve Mass in front of a big church at a church called Regina Caeli. In Toledo area. So, I mean, I've done that. I've served for the bishop and stuff, but that's a little different. That's more a devotional thing than anything else. Just FYI. I mean, I served at the Rosary Cathedral here in Toledo before when a cardinal came into town, too. So that was kind of interesting. But anyway, I'm off topic here again. Sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Well, we're talking about favorite places we've been to.
Okay.
And I said Boston.
Oh, the Saugus.
Yeah, that's why I said that was really nice.
Massachusetts was beautiful.
We saw the House of Seven Gables. We actually spent the night there. It was back then a bed and breakfast, believe it or not. So, FYI, that's a pretty cool place.
We were there for the Big Dig.
Yeah, we were there for the Big Dig. We just I think we flew in, and a chunk of one of the tunnels that they were building for the Big Dig. And if you don't know what the Big Dig is, in Boston, when we were there, they were burying the highways and the roads underneath the city, and one of the big cement slabs fell down and killed some people, like, just before we got there. So they had all these temporary bridges up in Boston when we were there, and it was just an awful experience. But we still loved being around there. It was really nice. We stayed in Peabody for a while. We ate at a place called the Naked Fish all the time. I had a per diem, so my boss paid for us to eat. She paid for the tickets. It was just an awesome experience all the way around.
The Naked Fish.
That's why I just said Naked Fish. It was a Cuban restaurant, and the fish they had there was just the bomb.
Oh, I know.
D.C., though, there was some cool aspects when we lived in the D.C. area. The best part of it, I guess, was the consulate restaurants, which are all staffed by people from that country. We went into I think it was a Korean restaurant, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was just diplomats.
It was a diplomatic establishment, basically, but anybody can eat there. No one in there spoke a word of English. And everything in the entire building was all in Korean. We had a small child. They were very polite. They went out of their way.
Sweet.
They brought samples to the table. And we ended up staying and eating the whole works. It was
they were
good
surprised
food.
that
Yeah,
we
they
even
thought
stayed.
we'd leave, but I'll try anything, so I'm not afraid of food.
I just couldn't use chopsticks. I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can use them nowadays, but
I'm not that adept.
But it was neat. They brought out the only kind of spoons they had for the infant and for our young son, and it was a neat experience, I have to say.
Right here.
Old, odd, and otherwise, just sub your channel. Well, thank you very kindly.
I'm afraid to try to.
Let's see here. Let's slide down.
Yeah, you think
or
you're
if
going to
he's
slide
referring to
down.
somebody else, I'm not sure. Let's see where we at.
Hi from New Hampshire.
Been to New Hampshire before. Let's see here. Thank you, Charles Lowe.
Yes.
Why don't you drop down to the rusted raccoon down there? Yeah, our feed just bounces all over the place. It disappears, the chat, and sometimes it doesn't.
Your backdrops are amazing. Green screen, yes.
Yeah, we're going to be mixing more stuff in here. Now, as I said, I've got a whole new line of videos coming out, which I think will be more enjoyable. Adding a little bit. I'm not trying to go entertainment wise. Everything in the video is still going to be the same kind of content, but I've got one we're going to mix some history and why something is important. So you're not just getting a glimpse of, hey, it's worth so much money. I want you to know why something is important here. And I've got one coming up here that I've been working a little bit on. The first one, I want to make sure it's right. I had a top 10 the other day, and, you know, I'm trying to get things that still stay with my line that are a little more enjoyable, because I know sometimes people, you know, say I talk a lot, which I know I do, and I don't want to be droll and everything. So we're trying to liven up a little bit of the videos. The wife's obviously the better half for the most part. So, well, you know what I'm talking about.
You could have just got me chocolates for Valentine's Day.
Well, you know, Starbucks or not Starbucks, Godiva in the mall. That's where she usually gets hers at. But anyway.
This is downright jewelry porn. It's funny.
She, in fact, I picked today, as you saw, she did pick a few things out that she did pick up this today. When I pick and stuff and haul, somebody usually picks something. My son collects certain things, and he gets this and gets that. My youngest collects things, and he keeps this and that. And then eventually people sell it and move on. So. And
then when we die, our kids aren't going to want any of our stuff. Sublime 90. Hi, Donna Markey. Hi.
Yeah, Death Pile. I think I've probably seen one of yours in the past. I know you've been on some other channels as well, at least chatting-wise. Again, don't do it for money, because you're going to be a year into it, and you know, you're going to realize the money is not there. You've got to be into what you're doing. Everything I do, I'm into. If you can't tell that I like what I sell, I mean, I'm not a biggest fan on doing wholesale, because it's not as fun, but there's not much work involved into it. There's a headache here and a headache there. Just like RA, I'm not a big fan of driving all over the place, but if I'm going to go out and I can make, you know, $1,500 for a 3-hour, you know, round trip from somewhere going to a few stores, I'm probably going to do it, you know, even if it means, you know, I spend the night somewhere, because even with the hotel room, I can still come out, I mean, ungodly ahead on something like that. And if I'm doing something like that, I don't even have to bring the product home. I can ship it from the road. And I never even thought to say it, but just like with the power going out here, get yourself a inverter, and, you know, you take those on the road. I can take a laptop and a printer and run them in the car, for crying out loud. So you just take your boxes and your tape dispensers, and boom, you ship them. You literally put them in the box. You print your labels from the car. You spend 20 minutes getting everything straight, and off you go. It's just a piece of cake. Then I spend the rest of the time doing the vintage and the collectibles. So,
Anthony,
any tips on selling drinking mugs, beer, and coffee?
That reminds me. Remember the coffee mug that we found at Goodwill, and you had put up, and then somebody said, "Hey, if you state that it's these kind of dogs." Yeah,
the dogs mean something. We've known that, though, for a while. Like, it depends on the coffee mug, of course. And I don't worry about somebody tells. We had a whole bunch of coffee mugs from a nuclear submarine. Remember those?
Yeah.
And I had a couple of people tell me that you ain't going to get that for it. It's crazy. These were given away for 99 cents the day they decommissioned the ship and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's 25 years ago, guy. You know, I was nice to the gentleman, but I kept them at my price, and I sold every one at my price. Don't worry about what the market does if it's a good cup and you know the area that you're in, at least on some. Animal ones always seem to sell for us.
The Far Sides.
Far Side mugs
but
seem
I
to
keep
sell.
mine. He's not allowed to sell them.
It depends on the one that you have, of course. You know, I can't tell you any specific ones that, you know, I've talked about the death ones. I've got a video literally on that, death wish ones. Some of the Starbucks ones sell fairly well. We just sold a manatee one that I actually had in a haul video here. Again, another example, you can see that I sold that cup that was in a haul from a few months back. And
pugs, for some reason.
Pugs are hot. Pugs are the #1 dog that we sell.
I don't know what it is about pugs.
Everything pugs. Pug postcards, pug trade cards, pug mugs, pug everything. Anything pug we have sold. And I don't think we'll have like 20 pug items here, and somebody will come through and buy half of them. One person.
It used to be Scotty dogs, remember?
Scotty dogs.
In the
there
90s,
still are.
It was all Scotties.
Pure black Scotties on any kind of pattern seem to sell still. Or the calico Scotty dog greeting cards from the 30s and 40s. We sell those horrendously high. I was just shocked.
Okay, both dogs are right here now.
Yeah, we've got the two dogs down here on us.
Leave her alone.
Let's see where we at.
Henry. Jinx, go.
Yeah, Rollins College, Winter Garden. We knew that area very, very well. We worked for Disney for 10 years. We both have a pension. Our pension card is sitting over there right now, asking to update some information. So we both have a pension from Disney, a 10-year one.
Oh, yeah.
We shelled out the minute we signed up for it the first year. So we're ahead of everybody else. The next year, you actually had to wait a year. So we were a year in advance of everybody else who joined Disney after we started. So that was kind of neat.
What prices do you get right here? Saint.
What prices do I get over under spot? I don't so much worry about spot. I worry about pure sterling value, dollar for dollar on sterling. You can literally look at the ticker tax on all the prices, and they'll list spot price, sterling price, scrap basically on it as well too. So if you're selling scrap, I'm going by the scrap price. If the scrap price on, say, the ticker is, say, $16, and I can get it for 14 or sell it for 14, somewhere in there, that might be a good profit. It depends on your market. Like around here, I know what the guy pays for it for me. I know how high he is over the other people. Again, there's usually only one or two people in every town you go to that's the main dealer in town. He melts it himself and sells it as bars, or he manufactures his own jewelry. The one that I do actually manufactures his own jewelry. He does sell some vintage jewelry in the display case, because occasionally there'll be pieces where he was honest with me. This is why I know I can trust this guy. And he offered me more than scrap value as a piece he could resell. Now, when somebody does that for you, I trust the guy, because he could have just literally done it to me as scrap and kept it. Once before, too, there was a diamond in one of the pieces, and we thought it wasn't a diamond. Sure enough, he tested it I didn't even ask for him to test it. He tested it for me, diamond, and he actually paid me just for the diamond a separate amount, because it was almost a half a carat. So I got a real good lump sum on that one, and needless to say.
Yeah.
But
Right here.
let's see here. Slide down a little farther there.
Okay.
Hang on just a second. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Thanks, Flipping Profits. So go ahead and slide down where we're at.
I don't wanna go
Okay,
too
that's
fast.
fine. That's fine.
Okay, did I just...
Yeah, we're bouncing all over the place again up here. Our feed's just terrible on this. I think we've dropped down 2 or 3 pages. I don't know how everybody else's feed is, but ours just goes left and right all over the place.
Okay, it's from the other one.
Okay.
Right
Welcome,
here.
Borderline Hoarderish. Always a pleasure watching and being in the live chat with the show. Well, thank you, Duncan.
Thanks, Duncan.
Yeah, I use the @ symbol, Annie. Yeah, that definitely. Again, as I said, I didn't even know that at first. I had to figure out what they were doing.
Oh, again. Oh, I don't like this thing.
Yeah, our chat's just terrible here. We're out in the country basically, so. Okay, that's about where we're at. And it just jumped again.
I'm going to let you do it, so
Yeah, here, let me
you
see
don't
what we can do. I know it's not you. It does it for me too.
let the dogs do it. They'd probably have
Yeah,
more luck.
YouTube sometimes is lacking in some of their
Jinx.
upkeep, I would say. Let me see where we're at here. Hang on just a second. It's bouncing all over the place.
Oh, okay, the background. Come here.
Joel Ark says demographics always plays a big role in sourcing different products. Any mass product items you particularly sell that are universally found at most secondhand stores.
Oh, I love it
In
too.
all honesty, I don't do many secondhand stores at all anymore. Like last year, we went to maybe 6 garage sales. Thrift store wise, once Savers closed down, I've barely been to a thrift store. We're going to do a thrift store haul day. I think next week or the week after. We had originally planned on doing it this week, but the weather was bad and everything else happened, so I don't go to too many of those. One thing I can say, though, as I said earlier, is records are the #1 category that I make the most money in religiously, constantly, over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm talking big quantity. I've never sold a piece of clothing for, $1,000. I've never sold a piece of clothing for $4,000. But I've sold records for those prices many, 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 many times. $1,000 record is nothing anymore. The first time I sold one, I was like shocked and elated for forever. And then we sold a $2,300 record. And I'm like, wow. Then we sold a $2,700 record. Then we had Tommy and the Derbies, and we sold 3 of those for over $4,000 a piece. And that was the bomb for us. So, records I've always been hooked on. No matter where you're at, you're going to find records. So that's the one category I can tell you, if you spend the time to know the records, you spend the time to know how to pack them and research them, that's like the #1 area that I can tell you. And if you haven't seen the video, I scored 7,700 records not too long ago from a storage unit auction, actually, that we bought it from. I had a little ins. Again, we know people around here, so people tell us things. You know, I give people gift certificates, and I do favors for people. I hold things for people, so they do that for us as well, too. That's why it said it pays to have a network of people. It pays to talk to other people and to, you know, converse with them. You know, just like people ask me all the time, how'd you find pickers?
I'm covered in dog
Yeah,
hair.
that's the only bad part about our little girl over here. It's dog hair everywhere. But I conversed with people for a long time, and sometimes you give up some information in the hopes that they'll return, and sometimes they won't, and sometimes they will, and you've got a friend, hopefully, from that point on. You know, there's people that I've bid against for a long time, and we finally got to know each other and talked, and sometimes I'll let him have a lot, and he'll let me have a lot. You know, I do more auctions than I would ever do a secondhand store these days, just because it's a bunch of stuff all at once. Going to a thrift store around here is potluck. We went to some, I think it was early in December, and I did a video on it, or just talked about it at least. I got 3 things that I kept from 3 different thrift stores in a couple hours on the road. That was all I could find. Our Goodwill scans all the books. They scan any item they think they can sell other places. Everything else is auctioned of value from our Goodwill. Salvation Army does similar aspects of it from what I can see, because they never have anything good, or somebody there is picking it through and auctioning it at some other secondary source that we have no knowledge of. So there's just no way to get any good stuff around here where we live. And I'm not driving 3 hours to do a bin. It's just not worth it. We found way better areas or sourcing around here that don't involve that type of stuff. I'm not against thrift stores at all, because that's where we started at.
Yeah.
You know, if Savers was still here, I'd still be going to Savers.
You know I would be there.
we did Savers twice a week. We went.
I always found something.
Constantly. We knew what day they got
Yeah.
better stuff out. Monday mornings was usually good. Saturday mornings around here, they had basically people that weren't the brightest people pricing stuff, so the best day to get a good price on something was Saturday morning. We knew all the ins and outs. We knew the manager personally even.
Where are you on here? 'Cause I have no idea.
We're up here. Let's see here. Yes, hang on, let me pop down here. We'll see if we can get it without it bouncing around on us anymore here.
I had to pick her up, didn't I? I love you too, Henry. I'm sorry I didn't pick you up. Oh.
Let's see here.
Sad.
Yeah, not when you're typing it, yeah. Annie is a moderator. She is the only moderator. We're in the works of probably getting a couple more people to moderate, but Annie has been a world of help. She is extremely knowledgeable. You know, and honestly, I'm surprised she doesn't have a YouTube channel, in my own opinion, but so I've talked to Annie, and she's been extremely helpful in every way, shape, or form. So Annie is top notch in our book here. So
Regina wants to know the best way to clean 78 records.
a record cleaner, a very good record cleaner. A fluid one that takes fluid is the best. There's a ton of different brands, so I mean I wouldn't know which one to recommend you. Ours costs over $500, so you know, if you don't have a record cleaner and you're just starting off with 78s, though, a wet washcloth, something really soft, clean, nothing been used on it, and some dish soap. Do not touch the label, though. Most record 78s are very durable, and you can really clean them very well. It's like night and day for the most part, even with just a washcloth. Record cleaner is the best source, because it gets out all the little particles in the actual grooves themselves.
Yeah,
so,
soap and water gentle. Rusty
Yeah.
raccoon, yeah.
I didn't see far enough down, but yes, that
all
is
of
correct.
my cloths. Yeah,
Well, I've
we
got
had
certain
'em.
ones we use. A ShamWowie is actually really good.
ShamWow.
ShamWowie,
Not
the kids call him
ShamWowie.
ShamWowie. Let's slide down here. Well, thank you, Marikex7.
Oh, hey.
Let's see here. Hey, Swamp Picker, how you doing?
Pugs on mugs.
Pugs
That's
on
all
mugs.
it
That's
is.
true. That's true. You'd be surprised. There was a video on somebody who was selling a specific kind of shirt, and it had a pug on it, and it was their #1 seller, and they sold a couple $1,000s of those every single month. It was a merch by Amazon, too. We have merch by Amazon,
If
too.
you-
So
Shoot. Andy Warhol, you know how he did the Marilyn Monroe's ones in blue?
yeah,
when
everybody
they
seems
got
to
the
do that.
pugs
Yeah,
now that
everybody
are-
seems to do that
Oh
for
my
everything
gosh.
these days.
It's pug crazy out there.
Astroworld Cups, yes. And just like Six Flags.
Astroworld, yeah.
There was a Six Flags one, and I can't remember. I think maybe it was a Texas one that's closed down for years. And every single item we got from there, we sold immediately for like top-notch dollar on those. Let me see where we're at.
Oh,
We're bouncing all
there
over
we
the place.
go. I had to touch it.
Our chat shuts off and then pops back up, and then it's like in a totally different spot. Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're there. Hang on, let me see where we're at. That one, we're still far off. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. The chat's just terrible today. Oh, okay. So I know we've got that one. There's the records. Yeah, we're like pages up apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to skim down till we can see some.
Right.
What did I do at Disney? I worked in the model shop in Glendale. I worked in Orlando. We worked at the studios.
It was then called the Disney MGM Studios.
Yeah. I originally started off in foods. I did some artwork for them. I did Fantasyland artwork. I did mural work. I did some concept work for.
Your mural's still in the tunnel.
Yeah, it's still in the tunnel. They spent the money and they actually touched it up. Believe it or not, Disney didn't hire somebody. They paid somebody to touch it up.
Isn't it by costuming in the tunnels?
If you take the behind the scenes tour in at Disney the Magic Kingdom there, you'll see it as soon as you come off the elevator going down into the tunnel system there. It's a 18-foot mural I did. That was the last piece I did there, and they spent a lot of money. They glassed it all in and everything. It's the centerpiece for the entire Fantasyland attractions department actually right now.
Right here. Coffee.
Where are we at? I'm sorry. Oh,
Right
do you
here.
have a rule of thumb time-wise when you call it on an item and dump or donate it? If I've looked up most items, most of them I keep for a long time. I'm talking years for most of them. Because with antiques, you have to have the right person in there. I pay so little. Like, for me to list 10,000 listings, it's like 2 cents a listing per month. Because we pay a set $299.95 a month, and that gives us, it's actually 11,000 because we get 1,000 auctions as well, too. So I don't care if I spend two cents. The end of the day is that at every day, whatever I sell, if I'm selling $1,000 worth of stuff, I'm taking home $800 from that after all my fees, and almost always after even the price of the items comes in. So if I'm making an 80% profit running all of these auctions, all these extra auctions, I'm not losing a dime. It doesn't matter anymore. We're in it now for the long tail. I said in the beginning of this, if you're just starting off, you can't do that. You need to flip everything quick, flip it right away. We're past that stage now. So again, I'm not in the same place as everybody else is, so I can do different things that other people can't. I had somebody ask on, how did I figure out on some of the things like that the tracking for eBay doesn't show up right away. Sometimes I have 500 listings, 600 listings that are just sitting there that have ended and I haven't relisted. Just a couple days even sometimes, because I'm not in a hurry sometimes on stuff like that, because they are long tail items. I don't always flip them off. Sometimes I'll let 500 or 600 listings sit there so I can go through them, and I may not necessarily pull anything down, but I'll change a title here, change a title there. I'll have an employee look and see if we can adjust some of the photos or anything like that. Maybe we'll even take some new photos out of those. So I'm not in the same boat as a lot of people. So it's hard to answer every question looking at it from my standpoint. So anyway, let's see where
we're at. Rich Sanders.
Hang on just 1 second. Yeah, I kind of started abandoning my channel on shorter, but hope that. Okay, she does have some videos. I did not know that. Mm-hmm. Rich came across a lot of vintage board games with tags still. Any general rules as to what type sell best? Science fiction always sell best. Alien, Star Wars, Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica. The Alien one I used to get $40 a pop for every time I got it. 60s ones, combat, TV shows, Adam 12. What?
No, Henry wants to be on camera.
Yeah, he's always
not laughing at you.
No, I didn't mean that. I just was curious. But
come here, Henry.
Any of those kind of things. Addams Family. The Munster sells immensely well. Gilligan's Island, any of those kind of stuff. TV shows are the best. Most of the newer stuff do not sell. The Tron board game I sold. There's several versions of some of them too, so keep that in mind. Horror ones always sell. I don't mess with like Charlie's Angels and stuff like that. I think I have one up here still right now, but a lot of those board games just aren't worth a lot of money. Happy Days and stuff like that, not worth money. Most board games you can find a comp on very easily, so look up comps. That's about all I can say. I ran into, I think it was called Dark Star the other day. I hadn't seen it in years, and I'm talking probably since it came out. And I went back to get it, and somebody already snagged it. But that's another one that was on my list of look fors.
Okay.
Let's see where you at.
I got dog hair in my nose. That's a good one.
Let's see here.
Need a
Joel
lint
Arc.
roller.
Thank you. Will do. I'll start looking for records. I'm telling you, and I'm not saying that for any other reason. I have nothing to gain from telling you I make a ton of money on records. You know, I might have a little to lose because other people could be snagging it, but I've got just so many good inside connections that I don't worry too much about records. Someone snacking me on a record. You see the quantity of records I get. I mean, I got 5,045s just after I got those LPs, and then I got almost 500, mostly Edison discs here, just the other day as well too. This is just a typical week or two.
Annie, thank you for the kind words.
Well, every word of that I do honestly mean, Annie. You've been a immense help in many ways. Even on the Facebook group, she's in my Patreon. She helped me out with my Kickstarter, which didn't succeed, but that's fine. You know, so we learned something from that. I've gotten the entire process down. I know how to do another one. I've already got another one started. We have got a killer idea going. It's going to be a specific artwork, specific piece of artwork. It's going to be another postcard. We've already got the designs, wrought out, the whole works. This one's going to go. So anyway,
right here, Tommy. I got dog hair.
Thank you all for the awesome content. Well, thank you as well. Well, let's see here. TV is boring, but I watch it. Yeah, we don't watch much TV. I hate to say it, but if you don't know what Trailer Park Boys are, I know a lot of people may not be their taste.
And it's an oldie but goodie.
Yeah, we only watch up to season 7, and after that, we gave up on it. The first one of that we saw, if you're talking about TV, we don't watch much TV is why I'm saying that. We saw the movie, the first movie, and that was the bomb, I have to say.
And we were saying, why is that guy always holding that
Yeah,
drink
we didn't get it at first, you know, so anyway. But there's a few shows we do watch religiously. I watch Shark Tank every single time it's on.
Jennifer. Right here, diamond.
You use
gemstone.
Or can you recommend a gemstone or diamond tester? No, I do not. I literally just set it in a box until we go to do scrap. Once a month or so, I'll usually go to the scrap guy. He runs a pawn shop and a jewelry store. He's got advertisement. He's a big job around here, and I'll just take them there. They'll do them for free. You know, why even wait? I'm not in a rush to sell them. Okay. So I said we built up 12 pounds of sterling when sterling was high. So I'll hang on to it for a while. We're not hurting for the money at this point in our life. Let's see here.
Right here.
Is it smart to test 78s on one of the inexpensive records that are sold on Amazon? Yeah, you should be fairly decent on something like that. An Ion turntable will do it. Your best bet, if you really want to do it properly, is to just do a regular RCA jack turntable and then get a capture device, an RCA capture device. I might have one here. Hang on just a second. No, I don't have it up here. I was going to say I'd show you what the capture device is, but that way you can use a standardized turntable, and it gets a USB on one side, and then the other side is an RCA white and red jack, and it even has I think it's the S yellow video jack as well too, so you can capture video or whatever device you can plug into this thing. I have one of those, but I also have 3 turntables and then a laser player or laser turntable as well too.
2 turntables and a microphone. Right here.
Let's see here. Can you explain? It's BS. It's some scam. There's no $10,000 Black Diamond VHS tapes. They were scam sellers. The same item went right back up here. It was a joke or someone who was laundering money. There is no $10,000 VHS tapes. The ones that they were selling, they were saying was the Black Diamonds and that they're worth a lot of money. There's only a couple that are worth anything, and I've even talked about them before. The Little Mermaid with the recalled cover, we get like $15 or $20 for the Black Diamond one on that. And there's one other one. I can't remember what the other one was. Maybe it's Aladdin. But the castle in the Little Mermaid VHS tape looks like a male organ in several spots, and it's very obviously
male organ.
It's very obviously the artist intentionally put that in there. There's no way it didn't.
And we've known some of the
we've known some animators personally.
Yeah,
I trained one who actually ended up being a full-fledged animator.
So they do weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been in animation many times. I'm hung out in the back. I've hung out in his cubicle many different times. I actually went through the entire process. Review board, and then Disney actually paid for me to go to Valencia to take live drawing classes to see if I wanted to do it. So that's how far I got through there, and I probably could have gotten into the animation department. I just hated the 1-minute gesture drawings.
Then Disney laid off a lot of the animators because of the computer. Computer animation.
That did happen too. They already were switching over when we were in the process anyway.
Galaxy 5000.
Yeah, flea market season's already in, but they're mostly inside at the fairgrounds and buildings and stuff right now. And I'm
The
sure.
best time to go to Savers, when they had Savers here, was when it was all rainy.
Yeah, because no one seemed to want to go out in the rain. Yeah, we always went when it rained. That was
Those
one
were the
time
good
we
old
always did.
days. Now they closed it down.
Yeah, you might, Galaxy 5000, you might want to check and see what ones are open inside, because around here there's 3 that are big inside ones, and there's one this weekend here, which we are going to be at in my general area. That they have it maybe once every other month or so. So, keep that in mind too. There are some in the winter months in northern states. There's one that's in this area that's in Tiffin and stuff like that too, Tiffin, Ohio. So there are some to go to still. Let's see here.
Oh, he's asking that.
Oh, they're still trying to figure that out. Let me slide down here and see where we're at. We're going to cut it off here in just a few moments.
Is that it? I didn't want it to. The dogs
Yeah,
are
sorry,
chewing
our
on
dogs
something.
have to eat down here. I think we're going to call it quits here because we are running on towards the 9
And
o'clock
our
hour.
dogs have to use the bathroom.
Yeah, we're going to let the dogs out. We're going to probably put them to bed, and we are probably going to let you all go here. Hopefully everybody had a good chat here. If you have any other questions or anything else, please put them down in the actual questions down there or the comment section. Again, I do have a link down there to our recent video that just went up today with some haul items that I got. Again, I am on Instagram now, and I will be putting out a 1-minute video, at least I think twice a week is what we're shooting on, and it's going to be like a info video on specific aspects of some of what we do, definitions maybe and things like that, showing examples, and I'll be putting some actual images and photos up of some of the stuff that we do as well too, insider stuff like that too. Nothing secret or anything like that, but just a little more inside view if you're interested. I don't know if I'll be able to do it every single day, like I do some of my other accounts, but it's not going to change anything here on my Amazon channel or our Amazon channel at this point.
Yeah,
so our Amazon channel. But let me wish you all good night. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time around.
Bye. Happy Valentine's.